Before I tell you what I did with my grandfather's money, I need to tell you what I did before I touched a single dollar of it. My grandfather passed away and left behind an estate that I had been named executor of. Significant money. Life-changing money. The kind of money that changes how people treat you, or reveals how they already did. I had a feeling about my extended family. Not an accusation. A feeling. So before I distributed anything, I ran a test. I texted every single person in my family and told them I'd lost my job. I said I was struggling. I said I just needed a couch for 1 week while I figured things out. My aunt blocked me after 3 days of silence. My uncle replied one word. No. 3 cousins left me on read. Not one phone call. Not one offer. Not a single "Hey, you okay?" I documented everything. Every timestamp. Every blue tick. Every block. And then I opened my grandfather's estate. And I made very specific decisions about what to do with it. My aunt has a boutique she's been running for 8 years. Or she had one. Aimeli. And my grandfather always said, character is what you do when nobody's watching. Or in this case, when you think there's nothing in it for you. My grandfather, I called him Pop, passed away 8 months ago at 84. He was the kind of man who built everything from nothing, started with a single hardware store at 22, expanded slowly and carefully over 30 years, sold the business at 68 for more than most people will see in 5 lifetimes, and spent the last 16 years being generous in ways that were never performative or public. He gave quietly. He helped people he didn't need to help. He remembered names and circumstances and followed up. He left his estate to me as primary beneficiary and executor. His reasoning, which he had explained to me over a long conversation 2 years before he died, was that he didn't trust most of the extended family with significant money, not because they were bad people necessarily, but because wealth has a way of revealing character, and he had watched our family's character closely for decades. He said, Eli, when you have it, find out who loves you for you first. Then decide. I took that literally. My extended family, for context, is what I'd politely describe as aspirationally wealthy. My aunt, I'll call her Renee, runs a boutique lifestyle shop called Vela that she has been aggressively proud of for 8 years. It's the kind of place that sells $90 candles and $180 throw blankets and is decorated in a way that is meant to communicate that you are the kind of person who shops there. Renee has built her entire identity around it. Her Instagram is basically a Vela catalog. She refers to herself as a curator of elevated living in her bio, which I'm going to let speak for itself. My uncle Doug is in commercial real estate and is the kind of person who works his net worth into conversations within about 4 minutes. My cousins, I have 5 on that side, range from indifferent to mildly condescending depending on the day. None of them are in need. All of them have the resources to help someone temporarily without meaningful inconvenience. I want to be fair. None of them are villains. They're just people who had organized their lives around status and proximity to money, and I needed to know what they do when they thought I had neither. So I texted each of them individually. Same message, personalized slightly so it didn't feel like a mass text. The substance of each. Hey name. I'm going through a really rough stretch. Lost my job last week. Kind of came out of nowhere. Still processing it. I'm okay, but I'm trying to figure out my next steps, and I was wondering if I could crash on your couch for just a week while I sort things out. I don't need much, just a little time to land on my feet. Let me know. Then I sat back and documented what happened. Renee, read the message within 2 hours. Didn't reply for 3 days. On day 3, I sent a gentle follow-up. She blocked me. Uncle Doug replied within an hour. 1 word. No. No puntuación. No follow-up. No call. Cousin Becca. Read it immediately. The receipts are such a gift. Did not respond. Has not responded in 8 months. Cousin Tyler. Left on read for 6 days. Then apparently forgot about it and texted me 2 weeks later asking if I wanted to come to a barbecue. I said I'd have to check my schedule. Reader, I did not go to the barbecue. Cousin Madison. Sent a string of vague non-answers over 3 days. Oh wow. That's so tough. Sending love. That never once contained the words yes or no or an offer of any kind. Cousin Jalen. Didn't open the message for 4 days, then sent, hey, things are pretty hectic right now. Hope you land on your feet soon. Which is technically a response but functionally indistinguishable from silence. I documented everything. Screenshots with timestamps. The blocks. The reads. The non-answers. I put it all in a folder I labeled with perhaps excessive drama. The record. Then I called Pop's estate attorney, told her I was ready to proceed, and began the process of opening the estate. Now here's where I want to be clear about something because I've told this story to about 6 people, and the reaction I get is usually some version of, okay, But what were you going to do if they'd said yes? I would have given them a share of the estate, treated with the same generosity Pop showed everyone he genuinely trusted, and probably felt relieved that my family was who I'd hoped they were. I wasn't looking for an excuse. I was looking for information. They gave me very clear information. The decision about Renee and Vela was not impulsive. I want to be honest about the timeline. It took me about 6 weeks after opening the estate to arrive at it, and I thought about it carefully before I acted. Here's what I knew. Vela had been struggling financially for about 2 years. Renee was carrying significant commercial lease debt, and her inventory financing was stretched. She'd had a couple of difficult quarters and had mentioned to family members, not to me, I was apparently not in that conversational circle, that she might need to consider a buyout or partnership to stay afloat. The building that housed Vela was owned by a commercial property management company, I'll call Meridian Holdings. Meridian had the lease, Renee had the business, and Meridian had been quietly considering selling the building. I made an offer on the building through an LLC I'd set up. Meridian accepted. I was now Renee's landlord. I gave Renee a formal notice that when her current lease term ended, about 3 months out, it would not be renewed. I offered to purchase the Vela business assets at fair market value, which an independent appraiser had assessed. She could take the buyout and exit cleanly, or let the lease expire and exit without the buyout money. She took the buyout. I don't blame her for that. It was the rational choice. The building then underwent a permitted renovation. I worked with a nonprofit that operates transitional housing and emergency shelter services in our city, an organization I'd quietly been connected to through Pop, who had donated to them for years. The renovation converted the space into a 24-bed transitional shelter, with a resource center for job placement and housing assistance. It opened 6 weeks ago. Where Vela used to sell $90 candles, there are now intake desks and donated winter coats. I didn't announce it publicly. I didn't send Renee a message explaining what the building had become. She found out through a mutual contact. She called me once. I let it go to voicemail. The message was, I'll be honest, very upset. There was crying. There were accusations about my motives and my character and Pop's memory. I listened to it twice. I did not call back. I want to close with something that isn't about Renee or Doug or any of my cousins, because I don't want this post to be primarily about them. They're not evil. They're just people who failed a test they didn't know they were taking, and the consequences landed in a way that I'm at peace with. What I want to say is about Pop. He spent 60 years building something, and he didn't spend a single day of it performing generosity. He just was generous. Quietly. Consistently. In ways that cost him something real. He told me once. The money is just the tool. What you build with it is who you are. The shelter has 24 beds. They're full most nights. I think he'd like that. Someone asked if any family members reached out after the shelter opened. My cousin Jalen, the one who had sent the sending love non-response, sent a long message about 2 weeks after the shelter opened saying he had been going through a hard time when I reached out and wanted me to know he regretted how he'd handled it. He didn't know about the test, to be clear. He was just apparently doing some reflection on his own. I called him back. He's the only one I called back. Someone asked what I did with the rest of the estate beyond the Vela building. I made additional donations to 3 organizations Pop had supported. I set up a small scholarship fund at the community college he had attended before dropping out to start his business. I kept enough to be comfortable and to honor the work it represented, and I bought myself a decent truck. Pop drove trucks his whole life. Felt right. Someone asked if I have any regrets. None about the shelter. Some about the family. Not about what I did, about what they showed me. You can't unknow something like that. But you can do something good with it. That's what Pop would have done. Pop said it best. Character is what you do when you think there's nothing in it for you. So Eli sent one text. Same message to every person in his family. I lost my job. Can I crash for a week? Renee blocked him after 3 days of silence. Doug said no in one word. 5 cousins left him on read, sent vague non-answers, or simply pretended the message never arrived. They weren't cruel. They were just honest, in the way people are honest when they believe there are no consequences for how they treat someone. There were consequences. Where Vela used to sell $90 candles to people who wanted to feel elevated, there are now 24 beds for people who needed somewhere to land. Eli didn't yell at his family. He didn't expose them publicly. He didn't send a group text explaining what they'd revealed about themselves. He just used a dead man's money the way that dead man would have wanted it used. And let the building say everything words couldn't. So jury, did Eli go too far with the shelter? Or was it the most perfectly proportional response to what he found out? And the question I need you to answer in the comments tonight. If you had the power to test everyone who claimed to love you, would you want to know the results? Because Eli did. And the shelter has 24 beds. And they're full most nights. Drop your verdict. The floor is completely yours.